It's time to pull the trigger. This is your ultimate free hit guide. Welcome to the Gianni YouTube show. Hope you guys are well. We're going to look at the best attacks, loads of data. We're going to look at the leakiest defenses. And you guys know I love an average position map. So we're going to check out all 8 teams' average position too. But without further ado, shall we kick off with a like and a subscribe? Thank you guys for supporting the channel. 8 teams in action. Which ones do we go big on? If you're on free hit, sure, this video is going to be useful. If you're not on free hit, you need to cover the main bases. So who are the players you should be taking maybe 4-point hits for this game week? Well, let's have a look, shall we? We're going to start off with some attacking data from the last 6 matches that all 8 teams have played in the Premier League, right? So we're going to look at the expected goals from those 8 teams, and then we're going to look at the expected goals conceded from those 8 teams. Seeing the best attacks, the best defenses is massively going to help influence whether we go double or triple up on some of the better teams, right? Then we're obviously going to look at a template team and do an average position map of all 8. So Aston Villa, let's kick us off with the best attack, shall we? I know they just lost 4-0 to Spurs, but if we're going after the last 6 matches, well, both Villa and Spurs are top 2. So Aston Villa have clocked an XG of 12.59 in those 6 games. Pretty impressive. Like, that's over 2 XG a game. That's useful. And West Ham aren't exactly solid at the back, are they? West Ham just conceded 2 to Burnley at home. I expect Villa to score a minimum of 1 goal, but potentially 2-3, right? The best attack without fail. And Watkins is going to be a lock. But how do we benefit from Villa attack? You probably need Watkins plus another. And I wonder if Leon Bailey's going to be that guy. We'll see who gets minutes on Thursday night. Remember, Aston Villa and West Ham both play Thursday night. So looking at minutes to certain players there is going to be really important. Spurs at 10.71 XG. They've just gone and scored 4. Everyone's going to have Son. Everyone's going to have double or triple Spurs, right, on free hit. So which 2-3 do you go for? Maddison, Son, Porro will be the template 3. But Kulusevski, Udogie, maybe a Brennan Johnson punt. You could consider all these guys. Fulham are next at 9.82. This data, by the way, is all from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Go check it out. So Fulham, 9.82. Fulham a bit of the dark horses, the wild card pick, if you like, amongst the free hit this week. They're playing at home. Fulham don't get battered at home. Fulham are useful at home, and they usually always score at home. Spurs defence without Van der Ven. Yeah, maybe we could look at a Maniz or Willian, who is now back fit. There's options there. Andreas Pereira and Iwobi are having really good seasons too. So look, Fulham definitely should be on our radars more, having seen this data. Then we have Luton. We know Luton always do well in attack. And then Forest, so 9.6 and 9.09. And then there's a big drop off to the bottom 3 in terms of attacking data. West Ham, Jared Bowen, of course, is going to be very popular. Kudus maybe too. Brentford don't do well at clocking lots of chances, but the ones they do clock are often big chances, and they all fall to mainly one guy. And then we have Burnley at 5.7. Burnley, by far, the weakest attack. In the last 6 games, they have averaged under, they're the only team that have averaged under 1 XG per game, on average. We don't love that for Burnley. So, they are the best attacks. What about the best defences? Just think about it before I show you. Shout out, go on. Give me the top 3 defences in order. I reckon you're going to be going Villa, maybe Spurs and West Ham. You might be quite surprised by this, but Nottingham Forest are top of the charts. Nottingham Forest, since Nuno took over, have been really sound defensively. In fact, I think only Arsenal better their defensive expected data. Now, they have been conceding goals, but their expected data has been really good, and they are top of the charts. In the last 6 game weeks, they have conceded an XGC of 8.32. So still over a goal a game. And that's why predicting a clean sheet this week is impossible. When we look at the 8 teams, when you're picking a goalkeeper, pick one that's going to probably get save and bonus points, because predicting clean sheets is impossible. When you're picking your defenders, forget about clean sheet points and go, who might grab me an assist, I think, or who might grab me a goal. But look, if you're looking at pure defensive data, Forest are top. Then we have Spurs at 8.35. Not much between them. Fulham are 3rd best defensively. Again, Fulham under the radar. They were the 3rd best attack. They're the 3rd best defence. Then we have Villa, 10.7. Brentford, 11.1. West Ham have been way leakier than normal under Moyes, 11.48. Burnley 12.3 and Luton 15.1. Like Luton and Burnley amongst Sheffield United really have been teams to target for defensive data. So who's going to keep clean sheets? Honestly, I can't tell you. I think the bookies would have it that every team is more likely to concede than not concede. Therefore, predicting clean sheet points is impossible. And if you're making free transfers this game week, don't waste them on defenders. Honestly, if you're using 4-point hits or free transfers to try and get a good 7 or 8 players out, which, by the way, I think a good 7 or 8 players is absolutely fine. My team, it's like, I've got 3 players. I clearly need to free hit. But for many, you'll be able to go, I've already got 6. I can get to 7 with a free transfer and 8 with a hit. And I'm bringing in Tony and Maddison, therefore it's worth it. Don't be bringing in, defenders outside of maybe you could argue you could bring in a Spurs defender for a bit of upside. So look, that's where we're at. In terms of the template team, this is very much what we're looking at. Like, this is going to be probably the template. Now, things could change. This is not my team. This is the template team. I'll show my team later in the week. So we've got double Brentford defence with Flecken and Reguilon. Then we've got Doughty and Porro. There's upside there with both these guys. Then we go Bowen, Douglas Luiz, 2 Spurs midfielders in Maddison and Son, Tony Morris, Watkins. And then on the bench, you'll have a Forest mid. Maybe that's Gibbs White or a Langer, a Soufal and a Konza or a Pau Torres, right? Maybe a Moreno if you fancy a punt. Areola maybe as a backup goalkeeper. So look, that will be the template team. But what I want to do to help scout is really look at the average position map of all of these teams to go, where are some nuggets here? Who's an absolute lock in my free hit? So I'm going to go through kind of some obvious candidates, but really just check out the average position. So look, let's kick us off, shall we, with the average position last time out of West Ham. These are all from SofaScore, by the way. You guys know I love an average position map. So West Ham's average position's a little bit all over the place. Their patterns of play are a little bit all over the place. This is not a good looking average position map that is massively overloaded on one side. But the most advanced player, and still very central despite playing out on the right, is Jarrod Bowen. And Jarrod Bowen blanked against Burnley, but he's the sort of player, was it against Brentford a couple of weeks back where he went and got a hat-trick? He's the sort of player, and by the way, that was a hat-trick off an XG of like 0.5 combined. He's the sort of player that can turn up, especially at home in these games, out of nowhere. Jarrod Bowen will be a lock on my free hit, and this is one piece of evidence as to why I love where he plays for West Ham. He is the highest, he's usually fairly central, and he loves balls in over the top. And against Aston Villa, who plays the highest line in the league? Aston Villa. Who allows more space behind them than any team in the league? Aston Villa. Who benefits from that? Fast, pacey, intelligent runners like Jarrod Bowen. Let's move on. Let's have a look at Forest next up, shall we? Because again, Forest's selection in the front 3 in the last few weeks has been all over the place. The last 2 games, number 27, they've played Origi out on the right. Against Brighton at the weekend, they played Morgan Gibbs-White pretty much up top, like almost like a false 9. And then they played Chris Wood, number 11, to the left. Alanga was benched. The game before that, we saw Hudson-Odoi left, Alanga central, and Origi right. There's no obvious pattern as to who's being picked. In the last 2, Origi's been picked, but Morgan Gibbs-White has been picked just in different positions. Gibbs-White has the penalty appeal. He plays 90 minutes. He's their best player. I think he's a really nice midfield differential, and genuinely, he's a lock on my free hit team. He's probably the most differential in my 11. He's absolutely going to be in my 11. Like, playing Luton, he's going to get chances. Luton concede tons of chances, as we've just seen from the expected data. In the last 6 games, that's excluding the Bournemouth game, by the way, 15.19. Yeah. Target Luton, and I think Gibbs-White is the one I can go. He's actually now to start. Because Chris Wood could start, Awoniyi could start, Alanga could start, Hudson-Odoi could start, Origi could start, and it'll only be 2 or 3 of those 6-ish players. Hard to predict. Let's look at Luton, because again, at home, we know they score goals. They're going to concede. I like Kaminsky as an option because he'll get save points. But look at Doughty. Every week we talk about his average position. He really is the chief creator in this team. He's on all the set pieces. He's going to create chances. If he does return a goal or an assist, then bonus points come too. So we really like Doughty. And he's going to be in, I don't know if he's going to be in my 11. He's definitely going to be in my squad. 100% there. What about Villa? What about Villa? Because there's a bit of news here at Villa. The John McGinn red card. So there's no Kamara in the team, and there's no John McGinn now in the team. What does that do to Douglas Luiz? Well, since Kamara's been out, McGinn and Douglas Luiz have been sharing the responsibility of playing DM. Now, at the weekend against Spurs, they played a back five, and that did put Douglas Luiz in as the DM, and McGinn was like a number 8, number 7 there, McGinn on the halfway line. Before that, when they played a back four, which is normal for Villa, Douglas Luiz and McGinn have been rotating. They've both been playing fairly box to box. So I was thinking, yeah, Douglas Luiz on free hit looks good because he's on all the set pieces. He's still good in open play. But with no McGinn and no Kamara, Douglas Luiz is going to be the chief sitter. He's going to be the chief DM. You still get the set piece threat and the pen threat. I just don't think I'll be going there. He'll be in the template team because his points have been so good. I much rather look at number 31 there, Leon Bailey. Yeah, maybe a punt on a Tielemans. I don't know. If we thought Zaniolo was going to start, maybe you could go there for a punt. For me, though, Leon Bailey and Watkins are going to be the clear two. Although Douglas Luiz will be very popular. If I go for a second Villa mid or attacker, it will be Leon Bailey, not Douglas Luiz. I can say that with certainty. Okay, we've looked at Villa. Well, they played Spurs at the weekend, and we didn't see this one coming, 4-0. James Maddison is going to be a popular pick. I'm pretty sure he's going to be a lock in my free hit team too. But the average position map doesn't do him any favours against Villa. We did see glimpses though, and we can see that little bit of light yellow from his goal right on the kind of 6 yards out central. His average position was similar to a Doji. His average position was less advanced than number 29. That's Sarr. But post-match, did you see the comments from Postecoglou? We want him to get further forward. We want more of those runs. He needs to be more advanced. That's what I want to hear. Thank you, Ange. You've just told us your team talk for the weekend, and James Maddison is going to be more central and more advanced, and therefore a lock in my free hit team. Sonny, we don't need to speak about him. He's going to be mass captained. We saw Brennan Johnson play left, number 22, and number 21, we saw Kulu. Kulu is a favourite of Postecoglou, and if you're looking for a differential in the Spurs mid, look how advanced Kulu is. He always gets into good positions, and he does have good ability to pick someone out of the back post. The assist threat is there with Kulu and a bit of goal threat too. I think we've got the 2 more to go through. Let's have a look at Brentford, shall we? Number 17, Tony, is going to be, again, I think Tony is a legit captaincy option. If I don't captain Son, I'll be captaining Tony. It's one or the other. Tony's a really good option. Burnley concede chances galore. Burnley defensively are a bit of a joke. They're a bit of a joke. They'll probably score, but they'll concede. And Tony will exploit that. The good thing about Tony, for those on free hit that can easily pick him, is loads on free transfers will ignore Tony now because he's not produced in recent weeks. I don't care. He's been playing well. He's going to get 90. He's playing against the league's second worst defence. Maybe third worst. Sheffield United, Luton and Burnley in a league of their own defensively. Oh, you could argue Newcastle of late as well, actually. But look, Tony for me. Number 11, Visser should start alongside him if you're looking for a differential. Although there's always a fear with Visser. Does he start? It could be Mopé, for example. But Visser has been playing well too and had a really good AFCON for the DRC as well. Let's look at Burnley. Just before we pick out a player, look at that defence from Burnley. The back four, look how wide they are. Look at that space. Like, we should just flick back to how Brentford played defensively. Look how narrow Brentford are defensively. If you want to go through Brentford, you've got to go out wide, right? Burnley, let the floodgates open. Let the floodgates open. There is so much space, and I think Tony will exploit that. They attack. The fullbacks push high. They're like, Taylor's like bloody Roberto Carlos, pushing high and wide. It's crazy the license company gives them. They can clearly play football. They're clearly very good at football. They just concede far too many goals. And if they go down and they keep this team, they'll probably win the championship by a huge margin again. But in the Premier League, they haven't adapted to how they play. And they go and have a go. And I think Brentford will be the better team. Number 23 for Fofana obviously scored a really good goal at the weekend. Company likes him. He's nailed. If you wanted to differential punt, Burnley at home, I expect them to score against Brentford, and Fofana could be that guy. So look, they're the 8 teams in terms of average position. We've seen a template. We've seen the best attack and best defence. Where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us to start, I think, looking at a template and going, Am I happy with that? Would I ordinarily pick that team, or am I being influenced by ownership? But also, how can I make some gains on this template? And I think there's a few differentials like Gibbs White that I just go, yeah, they're an absolute lock for me. Maybe within the Spurs team, maybe at Brentford or even Burnley. Like, there's plenty of options. Fulham have the third best attack and the third best defence. I'm not seeing Fulham in any drafts. So I'm really looking forward to, in tomorrow's show, doing a differential draft. I think that's going to be brilliant. And showing my team, which, by the way, will have some element of differential. My team will not be that template team. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped for that. Guys, make sure on your way out you're hitting that like button, and please, please, please subscribe to the channel. I will see you later in the week for way more content, team selection, differential versus template draft. Let's look at that in more detail. And of course, I'll be doing a deadline stream on Saturday as well. For now, go well.